Welcome back. Alright, leg 4 of the journey as mentioned in the last video. 75.5 nautical miles. Just a little bit under an hour. Looking for a grass strip here. Not really much to it. Winds 182, 3 knots. From Manzanar off to Madame. Madam. Ma'am. One of those. I think you can refer to them all equally on the radio. All acceptable. Oh, that's saying 7 knots. That's interesting. Oh, somehow I'm in the back seat. That makes more sense. Alright, let's go ahead and see what we got here. Okay, if this will behave. There it goes. Kind of. And it be minimized again. Alright. Expand this. Alright. As you take flight from Manzanar, pick back up with Route 395, heading north. The highway will lead you toward another small town, Independence. Alright, heading at 314, distance 4.7 nautical miles. About 3 minutes. This is still... It feels a little funky. That's not where my chair is. Alright. Let's go ahead and get the landing light on and the strobes just as well. Everything else looks good. Alright. And release the brakes. Here we are. Alright, so Route 395. Hey, we'll just keep cutting our way through the Sierra Nevada over here. Let's go ahead and minimize this and maximize our viewing angle. Tuck that in over there. Well, that's not too bad. A little uncomfortable, but not the end of the world. Alright, a little bit of nose down trim. I think we can fly a little lower this time. Just for the fun of it. Alright, so then in I guess a couple minutes as we approach Independence, we'll use the road as our guide and continue north, find telltale lava flow and cinder cones of the Big Pine volcanic field to the west. Then a bit further on, situated east of the highway, oh boy, the Tinnemaha Reservoir. I have no idea if I said that right. Hmm. Throw me for a loop. Alright, let's see. Small town Independence. Oh, how about that? Feel like we found Independence? No, no. That's too on the nose. Alright, they have an airstrip as well. Alright, so on our way to Tinnemaha. Tinnemaha. Reservoir. But yes, the Telltale Lava Flow. Let's see. Let's see how telltale they are in a simulator. Heading should be 343 for about 15 nautical miles. About 10 minutes heading this way. We need to turn a little bit more north. But that's where the road's gonna go. Can't see my hand, of course, but I'm pointing, followed up my nose. And it's gonna be cutting down into over there, the northern part of the valley. For funsies, let's go take it down closer to the road. A not so legal thing to do. But, again, if anyone from the FAA is watching, this is a simulator where I'm not actually going to practice or do any of these things ever in real life, breaking regulations. Alright, yeah, we'll just follow this road. Just for a little while as we get closer to the reservoir. That rock really does look a little bit kind of, well, lava-y. Forget the word. Eric? Baltic rock. But, yeah, it should be up on our west. To the west of us. And that'll be to our left. So, that checks out. Not too sure, but my best guess. Could be that we're just seeing outskirts of it, and we'll be diving into it a little bit further. Did say this leg was about 10 minutes, so not too much longer. But we'll know, because once we see the reservoir, we'll still use the. I don't think we'll be using the road anymore. Okay. Alright. Do some actual dead reckoning. We'll see how that goes. Alright, I think we're approaching the reservoir up on our 12 o'clock. Let's get this in a little bit more comfortable spot to read. Alright, east of the highway is the reservoir. Okay. We'll be continuing on at heading of 322, point of interest 13. Or, well, I guess 3. Sorry, POI 3. Short distance northwest. You'll pass the craggy side of the crater mountain as you make your way towards Big Pine proper. Town that still bears the geological scars of a massive 1872 earthquake. About 4.5 minutes from the reservoir, short distance northwest. Okay. So once we get to the reservoir there, I don't know what's shore, but let's just fly right down the middle of it and head 322. A little bit easier to see some of the lava or the remnants of it. Well, there's the reservoir. Alright, we'll just carry on northwest then. And coincidentally, it looks like the road is bending that way still. Well, we'll just carry on with that. Alright. Crater Mountain. The craggy rise of Crater Mountain. Doesn't say what side, but I wonder how obvious it will be. As we continue northwest over here. For about 4.5 minutes. Okay. Alright, so I think we're on the outskirts of this big pine. And we'll continue following Highway 395 as it will guide you past the glistening waters of Klondike Lake to the town of Bishop, California, aka the mule capital of the world. It'll be another almost 9 minutes there for us to get to Bishop. You can somewhat see the fault lines that they're talking about for that earthquake then for 1872. I imagine that's what that ridge line is from. Among other geological scarring features, I'm sure, that they intended to point out. Alright, Klondike Lake. You almost see it off in the distance. I'm imagining it's not this, but a little bit further northwest as we follow. Let's see, here it is, off my right. Highway 395. Looks like it still cuts through the Sierra Nevada over here. And so do we. Well, unfortunately, with a cloudy day, I'm not really so sure how glistening these glistening waters of Klondike Lake are today, but I do suspect it's coming off our nose here. There's just a little bit that might be under a little break in the clouds. So we approach Bishop, California, the mule capital of the world. We're about halfway through this leg now. About 4 minutes to go till we arrive there at our current speed. So, we'll see. But it's starting to come into view now. Flashing lights all the way out there in the distance. So, probably a nice little runway. Not for us, though. We still have a little ways to go. If that was Klondike Lake all the way back there, I'll be sad, because that was pretty small. There's a spot all the way up there that seems like it could be water. It could also just be, well, you know, land, just not generated very well, because it is pretty far, and, well, I only have such a powerful machine. That might not be water after all. Well then, you didn't do much justice, but Klondike Lake, I can barely see you back there. You were, I guess worth the mention at least. Alright. So, as we do arrive to Bishop, let's see what we have here. Alright. Let's make sure that we're still following Highway 395, which is right here under my left tire. Cutting through the town, and that's what it starts off, towards Chalfont Valley, I think. As it passes through Bishop, Highway 395 splits off towards the west, but you'll want to keep your heading, which will be 355 by the way, and pick up US Route 6. Outside the city limits, Route 6 will briefly bend east only to then turn north again, aiming you at the town of Chalfont at the foot of the White Mountain Wilderness area. Yeah, about a 6.5 minute leg. So let's see here. It will split off towards the west, but we'll want to maintain our heading of 355 and pick up US Route 6. Alright, cool. Well, I see where this is where we're gonna go. We'll turn north and continue following Highway 395 through Bishop before it splits off to the west. Alright, well, here we are. I suspect this is Bishop. Alright, well, that's where Highway 395 is bending west. And we'll maintain our heading of 355, excuse me. And let's see if we can find US Route 6. Well, that's what this is coming off right off here. Either way, we'll continue on this way. Let's say we start the timer now for 6.5 minutes. There are those lights that we saw earlier. Oh, took us right next to the airport. Alright, and the town of Chalfont will be at the foot of the White Mountain Wilderness area. Alrighty then. Well, it's unfortunate they don't have a bridge there. Yeah. As you see, sometimes the geometry isn't, I guess, procedurally generated correctly. I don't know how it is that they do it, but I'm trying not to look too closely. Alright, US Route 6 would have bent east. We maintain heading up, let's turn north a little bit more. .355, and then once we get to the city limits, that's when we'll see a bend east. Okay, cool. For a curated bush trip, that Microsoft Flight Simulator put into the game, you would think they could have given you a little bit clearer skies. I feel like I'm flying in real weather time, so a little sunlight would have been nice. Maybe they're saving it. Excuse me. Alright, well, I feel like we should be seeing Route 6 somewhere along the way. We're supposed to pick it up at some point. Been on our current heading for just enough time for me to start questioning where we're at. So, let's see. I suspect it is just off to the right. Looks more like a highway than that does. Yep, that's gotta be US Route 6. Okay, so we'll continue following this along. I guess at some point, and we'll briefly bend east, only to turn north again. From our perspective, flying north, it'll bend to our right, and straight on again. Guess we already dealt with that. See what's next. Tracts of farmland await. Oh, yeah, so let's see. This must be the town of Troutfontaine. And we are at the foot of the wilderness. See, I'm traveling a little faster than I anticipated, so that might be throwing my timing off. Yeah. Yep. Alright, well, yeah, because that's the farmlands ahead, which I imagine is Falls Creek Ranch Lake. And I head in at 336. So once I line up with the road and point myself towards that farmlands, I feel like that'll line up pretty nicely. Okay, well, maybe just start cutting these times down by a couple minutes. In this pace. We're flying in the yellow, but as long as we don't do any full deflection, we should be safe. Again, also not something that we would ever vouch for doing in real life. But this thing's slower than the sound or the damn it, fuck that up. The speed of smell and the speed of sound too, and definitely way slower than the speed of light. This thing's just putting along. Might get run over by a flock of geese. Those things would outfly us easily. Farmlands ahead. Alright, an isolated oblong body of water to the east. Okay. Well, the only thing I've ever identified in my life as oblong would be a football. So if I see a football, easy peasy. Anyway, well, we carry on up the road as rolling hills rise to the west and the town of Benton comes into view ahead. You'll know you arrived when you reach the main crossroads and see the town's scattered collection of trees amidst the desert. And from there, we're at the Madam Airstrip. Outside of Benton, Route 6 bends northeast, and we'll continue this sentence later when it becomes relevant. Alright, farmlands, and still no oblong body of water, but I maybe see the head. Easier in real life, it's just sunny, because then you could, well, obviously tell water from farmlands and whatnot, just with the glisten. But no water is going to be glistening as realistically as it should in real life. Here. A body of water here. Nice property, though. The backbone of America. Farmers. Damn. Yeah, like look at that house. Alrighty then. Inside voice. I guess that could be an oblong shape of water. To my east. Alright, well, let's go ahead and from here, rolling hills and town of Benton. Well, there's certainly a lot of trees out in this part of the desert, but I'm not confident that we're at Benton yet. I don't see a lot of, what should be a town. This is very small. Just a few buildings. But unlikely. Getting near to it, and then we're going to turn north 014 towards the Madame airstrip. Alright, so Route 6 bends northeast, pointing you directly towards the desert peak of Mount Montgomery, and the borderline between